Yo, 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 yo. What is the deal? What is the deal? What is the deal? Make sure you hit that like button when you come up in here. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button when you come up in here already. Make sure you hit that like button. What's good? What's good with you? What's good with you? Already. What's good? What's good? What's good? Let some of y'all get up in here real quick. What's good? What's good? Already. Already. Let some of y'all get up in here real quick. Make sure you hit that like button. Already. What's up, YouTube? Boy, back once again with another sport topic. And today we go talk some football. Houston Texans football. So the Houston Texans will host the Arizona Cardinals. The 8-5 Houston Texans. That's right. The Houston Texans are not only above 500. We 3 games above 500. We're 8-5. We went from 0-3 to 3-5 to now 8-5, and now clearly with a clear path. We're right now. If the season ended right now, the Texans in the playoffs. The Texans are the 7th seed right now. Now the franchise has never went to the playoffs as a wild card. We've only went to the playoffs as a division leader. We've never went to a wild card. We never went to the playoffs as a wild card. Also, the Texans have never won a road playoff game either as well. So that's a conversation for another day. But right now, as it stands right now, the Texans are second in the AFC South. Jacksonville's up with a 9-4 record, so they got us by a game. We split the season series, but if they lose one more game and the Texans win out, the Texans will overtake the AFC South because the Texans will have a better conference record than them. Because if they lose any of these games left on their schedule, they will have a worse conference record than the Texans. And if they lose to Tennessee or to Indianapolis, they'll have a worse conference record and a worse division record as well. So either way it go, the Texans are sitting pretty as far as at the very least they control what they control to get into the playoffs. If they win out, they're in the playoffs. So it doesn't matter. But also if they win out and Jacksonville drops one more game, now they have a real easy schedule. The only really tough team now is Denver, especially what ended up happening to Daniel Jones. The only tough team they got left on their schedule is Denver, I think, in 2 weeks. And the Texans' toughest game on their schedule is the Chargers. But if they lose any game and the Texans win out, the Texans will win the AFC South for what that would be a ninth time, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the ninth time because Kubiak won it twice. Bill O'Brien won it what 4 times? Yeah, and then D'Amico's won it twice already. So yeah, so that would be the ninth AFC South title if they Texas go out and win the AFC South. Third straight time win the AFC South. That's the first time in franchise history if they do that. If they can win it if they can win it this year, that'll be the first time they won it 3 consecutive times because they normally win it. They'll normally win it back to back. They'll win it back to back. Like that's what the Texans have done. The Texans will win in 11 and 12, and then in 15 and 16, and then in 18 and 19, and then 23 and 24. But we ain't never did it 3 times in a row. So hey, that's another conversation for another day. But again, that's other news. Right now, the Texans on Sunday will host the Arizona Cardinals inside NRG. They going out there deep steel blue all the way. Arizona, they going out there in all Liberty white. Well, not I'm saying Liberty white. That's our stuff. They going out there and they all white. I said Liberty white like it's theirs. Like this they white. They whatever Cardinal white, whatever they wear. But the Texans, like I said, will host the game against Arizona. And it's really, to be honest with y'all, man, it's really not a lot to say about this game. I mean, the Texans going into this game as a 9.5 point favorite. I tell you this every week, every time I do a spread. I tell you that every week that you get three anywhere from 2.5 to 3 points at home, depending on the team. You can get either from 2.5 to 3 points at home, depending on the team, depending on home field. You know what I'm saying? Depending on weather and things like that. If your team plays, like can vary, but it's anywhere between 2.5 to 3. So if you take away the home field advantage, that's still a 6.5 point spread. That's a huge underdog in the NFL. That's how they're looking at Arizona. Arizona has 3 wins after with Jacoby Brissett, who they can throw the football pretty well. They are a lot of pass after. I mean, Jacoby Brissett a couple times this year had 300-yard games, and also Jacoby Brissett has came inside Texas just a couple weeks ago, about a month or so ago, went inside AT&T Stadium against Dallas on Monday night and beat Dallas. I understand that's Dallas and not Houston, but they can't go out there, and also with that defense, they can't go out there and throw the football up and down the yard, but I mean, like I said, there's really not a lot to say about the game. I get in there and crunch the numbers and get into the numbers, but again, the Texans, like I said, they are a 9.5 point favorite, which is just kind of really uncertain. Kind of really unheard of. When you talk about in the NFL, you get those type of college spreads. You get over touchdown college spreads all the time. In the NFL, anytime you get to around a touchdown, it's a huge underdog. Like that team is considered a huge underdog if the point spread is at a touchdown, and we talking about 3 points over. We talking about we're talking about a 2 possession game. We're talking about a double digit spread. 9.5 is 9.5. That's damn near 10. So you're talking about damn near a double digit spread. That's how they're looking at this game, and we already know what it is. It's because of the defense. Is you talking about because it's more than just a 8-5 team versus a 3-win team, because we have 8-win teams versus 3-win teams all the time, and they don't be those huge spreads. It's because of this defense that is looking like a historical defense. This defense is looking like it's on a historical run, and I've been saying this for months, well, not months, weeks rather. I've been saying this for weeks that if this Texans record was better than what it was, they would be talking about this Texan defense amongst the greats, amongst the 2015 Denver Broncos, amongst the 2013 Legion Boom Seattle Seahawks, amongst the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, amongst the 2000 Ravens and the 85 Bears. And what do all those teams have in common? They all won chips. But if the Texas record was better than what it was previously, I think that this defense will be getting way more credit and people will be talking about this defense way more if that was the situation. Obviously, the Texans record wasn't that case. It took to the Thursday night game against Buffalo for people really to actually tune in and be like, hey, this defense is good. And then obviously Sunday against Kansas City, pretty much almost ending Kansas City potential playoff runs. We ended the fact that Kansas City could not win the AFC West, and it's the first time that they won't win the West in 8 years. I think it is it's like first time in 8 years they won't go in as a division leader. That they have to go in on the road. They've never done that under the Patrick Mahomes era, and it's guaranteed that's the case that they're not going to win the division, and they can still get into the playoffs. It's going to take a lot of work. It's not all the way done, even though it can end this week. And I'm gonna lay it out when I talk about the rest of the schedule and talk about the rest of the slate for the games this week and talk about the playoffs and stuff. I'm gonna get into that later on. But there is a chance that Kansas City this very week could be officially mathematically eliminated. When you gonna get that notification that the NFL drops says team has been eliminated, like from playoff contention, it could be clinched that they will be eliminated from the playoffs potentially if certain things break right. And actually, be honest with you, is actually not that crazy for those things that I'm talking about. The break right either. It's like actually, it's actually chalk. It's basically like just the favorites win. It's not no underdog come out and do. It's actually because the favorites. If the favorites win in a lot of these games, Kansas City is clinched and not going to the playoffs. But we'll talk about that later. But let's get into the numbers of this game. So on the season, CJ Stroud has 198 completions off of 308 attempts, but throwing for 64.3 completion percentage. It's thrown for 2,181 yards. It's thrown 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Running back Willie Marks is now clearly taking the lead in rushing for the Houston Texans. He carried the ball 160 times for 554 yards, averaging 3.5 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also is giving you 20 catches for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns in the air. Nick Chubb has carried the ball 115 times for 472 yards, averaging 4.1 yard carry, has 3 rushing touchdowns. Nico Collins on the season has 61 catches for 916 yards, 4 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz on the season has 62 catches for 574 yards and 1 touchdown. Jaden Higgins has 35 catches for 393 yards, 4 touchdowns. All 4 of his touchdowns are coming home, by the way. And we're playing in Houston, but all 4 of his touchdowns are coming home, by the way. Xavier Hudson has caught the ball 26 times for 303 yards and also has three touchdowns. And then Jalen O, who we've been waiting on, has 22 catches for 225 yards, only 1 touchdown. So Nico is less than 100 yards away. He's 85 yards away from 84 rather 84 yards away from getting his third consecutive 1,000 yard season. Now 2 years ago, two years ago, he had over 1,200 yards. I think he was like 5 yards away from having 1,300 yards 2 years ago. Last year, it took him to the last game of the season to get 1,000 yards, and that's mostly because he missed 5 games. Right now, in week 15, he can get it very easily. Very easily can get 85 yards, again, especially against Arizona. Can get 85 yards, and he'll have 1,000 yards with 3 games left to go. So he very easily, Nico Collins could have a career year in yardage. Now, I think his career high in touchdowns is 8. So he would need 4 more touchdowns. He would need to score a touchdown he would need to score at least 1 touchdown in the next 4 games to tie his career high in touchdowns. But when it comes to a yardage standpoint, Nico Collins clearly can go and have a career year in yards because he's only 85 yards, 84 yards away from getting his third consecutive 1,000 yard season, and then still has 3 more games to get 100 yards in all 3 of those games, and boom, 1,300 yards. That's his career high. Because, like I said, his career high is at 12, like 95, if I'm not mistaken. Now, on Arizona side, like Jacoby Brissett took it over, because of the injury with Kyler Murray. Jacoby Brissett has 229 completions off of 346 attempts. Has thrown for which gives him 66.2 completion percentage. He's thrown for 2,400 yards, 2,459, so 2,459 yards. Has thrown 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So on a number standpoint, on a statistical standpoint, Jacoby Brissett is having a better season on a number standpoint, like on a number standpoint, because again he has more yards than CJ, more touchdowns, less interceptions than CJ. Um, on a number standpoint, I know CJ missed 3 games. Jacoby says not they started, but then again, we're just talking about from a number standpoint. Not saying that he's having a better season, but just from a number standpoint, he actually is having a better season. Now they struggle very hard with running the football. Nice, they lead in Russia. He has 800. I mean, he has 81 carries for 271 yards and 4 touchdowns. They do have 4 touchdowns, but they cannot run the football very well. The leading receiver is the tight end Brian. Almost call him Brian McKnight. I don't know why I almost called him McKnight. McBride. McBride has caught the ball 93 times for 937 yards, 8 touchdowns. Wilson's caught the ball 61 times for 712 yards and 3 touchdowns. Marv, who's not going to be in this game, but came down early. Marv is going to miss this game. He's a third leading receiver with 40 catches, 594 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, it's been a couple games this year that Jacoby Brissett has had like thrown for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. It actually hasn't even turned the ball over. If I'm not mistaken, I think in last week's game, if it wasn't last week's game, it might have been the game before that. Like he had a stat line like that where he threw like 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't turn the ball over. Arizona still lost. Might have been the game against Tennessee. It might be the game that Tennessee won. I know either it was recently or it was the game against Tennessee, and that's the reason why it was relevant because Tennessee had won that game. But I know he had a game like that he lost. A game that he lost, he was able to throw for a whole bunch of yards and also threw for like say like 4 touchdowns and stuff like that. So again, if it wasn't last week or the week before, it was probably like I said that Tennessee game a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago rather, when Tennessee won their first game. So, I mean, this is the thing. We all have history with Jacoby Brissett. We know we all have history with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's 4-1 with against the Texans. No, and doesn't matter really what jersey he puts on. His first game of the beating us was in New England. He's beat us with Indy. Did he beat us with Cleveland? I forgot what the other team was. Was it Cleveland? Can't remember. I think it might have been, but it might have been Miami. Was it that Miami game when David Cutler was the head coach? I know he's four all time. He's 4-1 against us. Like he's and the one win was the Thursday night game at NRG. Uh, well, Thursday night game at NRG with Deshaun Watson in 2019. That's the one loss. All the rest of them are wins. He's beating Deshaun Watson. He's beating Brock Osweiler. He's also beating other bad quarterbacks that we've had too. Uh, so Jacoby Brissett wins in against Houston. I'm not gonna say in Houston. He has beaten Houston a couple of times, well, more than a couple of times. He has a winning record against us, a clear winning record, 3 games above 500 against us. So he's won 3 more times than he's lost. But a guy who is virtually a statue. Like he's not mobile. He doesn't run. I know he had like I think like had like a 49-yard touchdown in that game against us. That Thursday night game against us, we with New England. He scored like a 39-yard touchdown when he ran it. Outside of that, Jacoby said we is not. He's a pocket passing quarterback who sits in the pocket and throws the football. I think the Texans defense can get to him. I mean, the Texans are just better. This is one of the games that the Texans are just better than the opponent, like Tennessee. Like both games against Tennessee, the Texans were just better. It's not an even matchup. It's not okay. It's a great defense versus a good offense, and no, like, it's none of that. The Texans are a flat out better team than Arizona. And and again, that's the reason why they have it at a 9.5 point spread. The Texans should be able to go out there and handle business and beat Arizona at home. Like, especially with all of you done with these 5 games that you've done previously. The 3 games that you won while CJ was out with concussion, and then the 2 big games the last 2 games at Indy, a division rival that plays the historically really up until we decided to finally win there in 2015 has been a place that we've lost pretty much all the time. Well, actually, before then, we lost every time. We lost every time from 2002 all the way to 2015. We lost every time we walked up in Indianapolis. And then since then, I think we're like 7-4 or 7-5. No, I'm sorry, 7-3. We're 7-3 in the last 10 years. The last 10 times we went up to Indy, we're 7-3. So we've won in the last 10 times that we've been to Indy, we've won 7 times. So, but it still was a place where a team that at that time was the leading division. It meant a lot. And obviously, we know what last week was against Patrick Mahomes, Sunday Night Football. Their back is against the wall. That was really like a quasi playoff game because not only was it dealing with tiebreakers and things like that, like it got you in and it pretty much almost guaranteed KC to be out. Everything was on the line. Sunday night, everything's on the line, and you don't want to waste all those good fortunes, all that good credit that you have accumulated in the last 5 weeks, which you've accumulated in the last month, can go completely down the drain if you drop this egg against Arizona. Like let's not make no bones about it. Yes, technically you still can win the rest of your win the remaining 3 games and still more than likely get in. But this was like it's like a college football situation where you could be at the top of the rankings and one bad loss will plummet you down. Like if you like not no pun intended, but if you lose Arizona, it really would be we were who we thought you were. It would really be like the whole Dennis Green. You were what we thought you were if you do that. All the stuff that we were talking about when you were 0-3 and when you were 3-5 and people were out on the team and people didn't want to go to the games and people didn't want to have anything to do with the Texans, then now people are starting to get back on the Texan train specifically because not only think it's because you won 5 straight games. It's not because you won 5 straight games. It's not because you have the best defense in the league, because you had the best defense in the league since week 1. The defense has looked the same outside of that 4th and 10 against Tampa in week 2. The defense has looked like this from the entire season. The only thing that's different is that you won 8 straight games and you beat Patrick Mahomes on prime time for everybody to see. And that's really that's really that's really that's really where the corner that's really where the corner turn, and that's really where the perception turn in most people's mind. That's what really got people back on the train. That's what really got everybody ready to go back in. That's what really got everybody to go back in is when we beat KC last week. And you will waste all of those good fortunes and all that good credit if you drop an egg to Arizona. You will waste all good credit if you do that. It's going to be the 5 Nick Caleys and the trade CJs and the 5 D'Amico Ryans and the 5 Nicholson. All those things will surface back up again if you lay an egg. Any way you lay the egg against Arizona, it don't matter. Like, you have to go out there. You have to take care of business. For the next 2 weeks, home against Arizona, home against Vegas. Those 2 weeks, especially with them both being at home, your last 4 games, 3 of them at home. This week, next week, and you close out the season at home. The only games on the road is now the Saturday game that's official now, Saturday against the Chargers. I've been calling that since they made that schedule, that game is going to be a Saturday night game. Now, again, the only thing I was wrong about was going to be a night game. They actually made it the 4 o'clock game, the 4:30 game, which I don't understand why, because the night game is Green Bay and Baltimore. And at the very least, like Kansas, at the very least, the Texans, the Chargers are fighting for playoff position. Both teams actually could be fighting for their divisions, even though they're fighting against each other for their division. But both teams could end up fighting for the division. So I'm assuming that maybe they didn't want to give the Chargers the primetime game because they're probably going to end up giving the Chargers the game the following week because they play Denver the last game of the season. I'm pretty sure they're going to probably make that the primetime game because that's going to be the game for the division title. I think that might be the only game of all the games on that last week that could potentially be a head-to-head division title type situation, like how Detroit and Minnesota was last year. So I'm assuming that's the only reason why they decided to not make it the night game. Because really, other than that, I don't understand why Green Bay and Baltimore is the night game when it clearly should have been the Texans and the Chargers. But again, I digress. But we have the Saturday game going to be on the NFL Network. But I said all that to say this, so I'm sorry, I went off track. Like, yes, that's your only road game. So you got 3 of these last remaining 4 at home, and 2 of them against Arizona and against Vegas. And then the last one, it might be against Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis, and we're going to talk about that later. But so the thing is, you cannot waste you will lose all your good fortune if you go out there and you drop an egg and you waste that. Speaking of dropping the egg and wasting, I see a whole bunch of people jumping in. Y'all dropping eggs and wasting y'all views because y'all not hitting the like button. Make sure you hit the like button. The likes ain't going up. I see a whole bunch of people in here, but the likes ain't going up. Say y'all dropping the ball. Y'all dropping the egg on that one. Y'all dropping the egg on that one. So make sure you hit that like button. Come on, man. Make sure you hit that like button. Really, really appreciate that. But like I was saying, like you have to go out there and handle business by any means. Really, to be honest, you should be able to handle business pretty soundly. I'm not trying to say it, I'm not about to say it, well, we should do this and do that, but it should be a very comfortable, stress-free game. We should be able to watch this game comfortably. We shouldn't be in the mood watch this game like on pins and needles, hoping Kyrie kicks against the game-winning field goal, or CJ got to have a game-winning drive, or the defense got to stiffen up and make sure that they don't score at the end of the game. Like, this game shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't. I'm just calling it like it is. The game shouldn't be like that. It should be a game that we should be able to go in there and handle our business. I ain't saying you got. I'm not saying you're supposed to go out there and beat them by 4 touchdowns. I ain't saying you're supposed to go out there and beat them by 3 touchdowns. I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying that. I would love for that to be the case. Oh, I would love for you go out there and you win 34-5. I mean 34-10 or something like that. I would love for that to be the case. But I'm saying is we shouldn't be in the end of the game stressing over the game. We shouldn't be stressed. The thing is, last week, if you want to be for real, if it wasn't Patrick Mahomes last week, we wouldn't. Last week we probably would have felt differently about the game as far as the comfortability. Because when Dari scores that touchdown to make it 17-10 with like 7 minutes left to go in the game was over then. I mean, because they never scored again. So the game was over. The game was over then. The only thing that was holding us back as far as being excited and enjoying it and enjoying it at that point in time is because it's Patrick Mahomes. And we know Patrick Mahomes with all that speed they got out there, one wrong move or anything like that, it could be a tie ball game again. So I think that's the only reason why, because the way this defense has been playing all year long. Because I remember back in that Buffalo game, even after that hook and ladder play, I was not worried about that game. Cause I'm like, the defense is gonna make a stop at the end and win the game. Like I'm like, the defense is gonna make a stop and they're not going. Like I didn't know if it's gonna be a turnover or it's gonna be a sack and they're gonna run. I knew the defense was not gonna let them score a touchdown and win the game. I knew the Texan defense was going to be. I was, because of how good the defense is, how good the defense is, and how that game was going. I'm like, they're not gonna do anything. And you probably would have felt that same way against Kansas City if that was any other quarterback besides Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow type, Tom Brady type. If that was a Justin Herbert, if that was Kyler Murray, if that was a Bo Nix, Drake May, Jason, any other quarterback in the NFL, any other quarterback, if the game was playing the way it was playing, the defense was looking the way they looked throughout the entire game. Once the Texans scored that touchdown, made 17-10 with 7 minutes to go in the game, you would have been comfortable with the remaining of the game. That's what I'm talking about. We should be, by the last 7 minutes of the game, we should know that this game is comfortable. So I'm not saying it has to be a 20-point game, a 20-point beat, but it's going to be, it should be. I'm not saying it will, because again, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. But it should be a comfortable. It should be a comfortable game. We should be feeling this game very, very comfortable. So you already know where I'm leaning at when I'm picking the game. Again, like I said, the Texans are a 9.5-point spread. Texans, like I said, 8-5. What you call it is what the 3-10. Arizona's 3-10. I have the Texans defeating the Arizona Cardinals 24-10. I have them beating them. I have them beating them 24-10. So I got them winning by 2 touchdowns. I don't really see this era, especially without Marv. I mean, they shut down McBride. I think they be able to. I mean, because that's really their biggest threat. They can't run the football. This defense is just so monstrous. Like, again, this is the best. This is the best defense in the NFL by far. I know people want to holler about Denver. People want to say Denver. It's the best defense in the NFL by far. I say it week in and week out. This defense can beat you any way you want them to beat you. You want to go out there and get a whole bunch of sacks, they'll do that like they did against Josh Allen. They'll go out there and just please just go out there and stop you like they did against the 49ers. You're not moving the yard. We're just not, you're just not going to be able to move because we're going to stop you. Or like they did against Patrick Mahomes. They'll go out there and they're going to just take the football away. They did the same thing against Seattle. It just, the offense wasn't doing enough to get you in the game. The offense was doing pretty much everything they could to keep you out of the game. But they was out there turning over the football then and scored. I mean, they scored touchdowns in that game. I mean, you had Will Anderson get a touchdown, Stingley got an interception, forced fumbles. Like they were able to turn the football over, but offensively wasn't able to do anything. Last week, they were able to turn the football over, and the thing is, they actually still wasn't cashing in last week. Is it still a concern on the offense side of football? Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it absolutely is. I know people talk about no Nick Caley and the offense is improving. Yeah, it is, but it's like it's like going from it's like going from a 64 to a 67. Yeah, you improved, but you still failing. like you improve, but yeah, you still failing. Like, does the offense look better week 15, week 14 than it did week 3 or week 4? Yeah, it do. Maybe not week 4. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, week 4, because week 4 was the first game against Tennessee, and it took all the way to the fourth quarter to actually do something. So, yeah. So, does the offense look better week 14 than they do week 4? Yes. But that's also not saying much. It really is actually more of an indictment on how bad the offense was in week 4 that it is improved now, but it's not that much improved right now. So, yeah, it's improved, but it's still nowhere near what you want it to be at. It's still nowhere near where you need it to be at. And I think this defense, like I said, I put it up there with those great defenses. I think this defense is an all-time defense. I think this defense is like I mean, people say it's a championship level defense. It's beyond that. I think it's an all-time defense. I think this is a defense that people like defensive coordinators are going to be like talking about. You want to play like that defense, and people talk about the Jets defense in 2009. That was a good defense too. That was a real good defense too, and it was able to allow a rookie Mark Sanchez, to get to the AFC Championship game. And I think this defense is better than that defense. But the reason why that defense is not thrown in the conversations with any of these other defenses and not getting talked about, one, I don't think they deserve to be up there. But two, they didn't bring home a chip. If they would have win, if the Jets would have at the very least got to a Super Bowl, let alone won one, I do think that 09 Jet team would get more respect because it does have the best cornerback play that I've ever seen in Darrell Reeves. Like that's the best cornerback play I've ever seen. You already know, everybody knows that Deion Sanders is the best cornerback of all time. I'm never going to argue that. Deion Sanders is absolutely the best cornerback of all time. My favorite cornerback to watch was Darrell Reeves. Darrell Reeves was the best quarterback I've ever watched. Again, when it comes to Deion, most of Deion, like Neon Deion in the 49ers, a year at the 49ers, and when he was in Atlanta in his first couple years in Dallas, especially when he won the Super Bowl, I wasn't watching football like that. I was a kid. Like a kid. I wasn't watching football like that. And then if I would watch football, I wasn't understanding what I was watching. Watching in 2009, knowing what I'm looking at when I see Revis Island out there, that was extraordinary. And that doesn't get talked about because A, they didn't win a chip. They didn't win a championship. And two, that they didn't even get to one. If they would have got to a Super Bowl, I think people would put more respect on the name. But again, I think this Texas defense is better than that defense. I think this Texas defense is better than that defense. But it could get thrown off into the ether and not being spoke about if they don't come home with the trophy, or at the very least play in that game. They can at least get to the game and play in that game. That I think they still get respect on their name. But if they lose in the wild card round or losing the divisional round, even probably just losing the AFC Championship game like the 09 Jets team did, I think the defense in Texan circles, as a fan, we'll talk about it. But as far as people talking about aspiring to be that defense, I don't think so. That's just my personal opinion. But I believe this defense is that good. Offensively is where the slacking is. Offensively is where we need to pick it up. because it's hard for us to run the football. Woody Marsh did a good job last week in the situation that we need him in. But 26 carries for 64 yards or 68 yards, however many yards it was, that's not going to get it done long term. It should be able to get it done against Arizona and against Vegas and maybe against San Diego on Friday or Los Angeles Chargers on Saturday night. And then against Indy, the last final game of the season. When you get into the postseason, you're gonna need more help on you. You're gonna need more help for your running back. I know people look at this postseason; it doesn't look extremely scary, but you still need something. Just because it doesn't look extremely scary, and we have this level of defense, don't mean you can just walk in there with dog water offense and just expect to win. Because it's not the case. It's not how football works. You need to be able to get something going offensively because your offense can actually be the reason why you lose the game. You can turn the football over and all these different type of things. Put the defense in the bad spot. And now the defense give up a touchdown that they wouldn't have normally gave up at the drive to length of the field. Or like we've seen also this season a couple times, the Texans like get scored on special teams. We've seen it against the Jags. We've seen it against Buffalo. Like we allow special team scores. And even though this defense is so great, they're able to run a punt back, a kickoff back, or we muff a kickoff, and all other different kind of just weird things have happened that could cause you to lose a game. So we don't want to waste this defense, and we don't want to waste and squander the good credit that we've accumulated the last 5 weeks. The comeback against Jacksonville, beating Tennessee, handling your business. Thursday night, one of the most impressive games I watched. I know people talk about Kansas City, but one of the most impressive games I watched was that Thursday night game against the Buffalo Bills on the road at Indy, division leader. On the road Sunday night against Patrick Mahomes, the three-time AFC defending champions, the two of the last three Super Bowl champions, one of the last three MVPs in Patrick Mahomes, who's actually having a good season from his standpoint. I know the Chiefs' record is below 500, but Patrick Mahomes was throwing the football well all season. Actually, he's actually been looking similar and closer to MVP level Pat that he's looked in the last 2 years. You will squander all that good credit that you've accumulated if you lay an egg against Arizona on Sunday. I'm sorry, you just absolutely will. But there's no way to sugarcoat it. Ain't no way to we'll see. No. This team has 3 wins. They don't have their starting quarterback who they think they franchise me on. They have their backup quarterback in who's a statue. You got 2 elite pass rushers in Will and Daniil. You got secondary in Stingley and Lassiter and Bullock and Petrie. You should be able to get to him, make him throw the football when he's not ready to, and walk away with interceptions and walk away with sacks. Your defense should dominate this game, and the offense should be able to do enough to win the game. They can't run the football; they can only throw the football. They eliminate the running good game from themselves. Their leading rusher has 2. We are in week 14. 15, I'm sorry. This is week 15. We're in week 15. Their leading rusher has 271 yards. We have 2 running backs, and we said we can't run. We struggle with the run the football. We got 2 running backs on our roster that has already eclipsed that. Only thing is he has an extra touchdown because Chubb only has 3. We got 2 running backs that out rushing him. They'll be their leading rusher. So we can get one of our running backs and we can give them our leading rusher and we'll still have more rushing yards than them. We can give them our leading rusher and we still have more rushing yards than them. This is like so we should we should be able to handle business. And again, if we don't handle business, we're gonna look like fools. Like egg, like we they lay egg out there. We're gonna look like fools and like idiots because all we've been been hyped about for the last 3 weeks specifically. But like, it's really not. I ain't gonna say the last 5 weeks, but the last 3 weeks, that game against Buffalo, beating Indy, then also beating Kansas City. Well, we will be looking like idiots if we lose this game at home to Arizona. Now on the road, at home to a 3-win Arizona team with their backup quarterback, him as a statue, and can't move while we can rush the passer, and we have the best defense in the NFL. Best defense is like at the very least the best defense in the last 10 years, because the 2015 Bronco team was 10 years ago. So at the very least, undisputed, no, can't talk about the best defense in the last decade. I think, in my personal opinion, the best defense in the last 20 years, 25 years rather, because 20 years is 2005. I think it's better than all the defenses in that standpoint. And you have the 2000 Ravens, you have the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Said this Sunday, I think they're better than the '02 Bucks. I think they're just right below the two. I think it's the 2000. I think it's the 2000 Ravens, 2025 Houston Texans, '02 Tampa Bay, 15 Broncos, '09 Jets, Legion of Boom. I know y'all. The Legion Boom is low. I know Legion Boom won. Like the Legion Boom. And don't get me wrong. Legion Boom was a good defense. Don't get me wrong. The Legion Boom was a good defense. I do think a lot of the Legion of Boom's like mystique is that they had a cold nickname. They had a cold nickname. They had a cold name. I don't understand what they did to pay Manning in the Super Bowl, but like they had a cold defense of name. Their defensive name was cold. Like Legion of Boom. And I think that Legion of Boom, because wait, I'm not putting the 85. I ain't watched the 85 Bears. I wasn't born yet. So I ain't gonna put the 85 Bears name mix. I wasn't born yet. But that's what I look at when I look at these Houston Texans. That's what I look at when I look at these Houston Texans. And so I feel like they should be able to go out there and be able to handle business against a 3-win Arizona team. I'm sorry, I just feel like they can at home at that. Even if it was in Arizona, they should be able to handle business. At home, I feel like they should be able to handle business. Now, let's look at the schedule of games for this week, because this actually kind of matters for the Houston Texans. And then we can also look at the playoff picture, because again, these two things kind of coincide with each other. So you have Cleveland going to Chicago. I have Chicago beating Cleveland. You have Baltimore going to Cincinnati. Now we know Cincinnati beat Baltimore in Baltimore on Thanksgiving. I think Cincinnati gets the sweep. I have Cincinnati beating Baltimore. The Chargers are at KC. Like I said, KC could be officially eliminated from the playoffs this week. I think KC, because of that, I think KC, because obviously KC will have to lose. I think KC is going to win. But if they lose, it starts the clock on a lot of these games that if the chalk wins, which means the favorites win, KC is eliminated from the playoffs. But I think KC, because of that thing, like, this is really KC's last gasp. They have to go. They have to win this game. So I think, and plus they've already lost to the Chargers. They gotta go out there. So I think they'll go out there. They beat the Chargers. Buffalo at New England. Buffalo lost to New England earlier this year. I don't think New England gets a sweep. I think Buffalo beats New England. Washington at the Giants. Texas fans, remember, we have Washington's second round pick because of the Larry Tunsil trade. As of right now, it is the 5th pick in the second round. The Texans right now have this 5th pick in the second round. I know draft is months away, and we up here on a run, potentially able to go out there and win a championship. And we up here talking about the draft. But again, you got to keep your head on swivel. You got to be thinking. You got to multitask. We should be wanting Washington to lose the remaining of those games, so Washington can have the highest pick possible. So it can be even further. It could be the second. It could be the third, the fourth, the second pick in the second round, or even the first pick in the second round. Washington fool around and get the number one overall pick. Now we have the first pick in the second round, and that pick will be extremely valuable after the first round because once players fall off the players stay on the board, and you got that night. You got Thursday night for the first round, then you got the second round on Friday. You got all night for GMs to be calling you to make trades. So that second pick, that second round pick against Washington, can be very valuable, especially if Washington ends up losing more games. So I have the Giants beating Washington. Vegas at Philly. I have Philly beating Vegas, just like KC. They back against the wall too because Dallas, even though Dallas lost, Dallas is still creeping up on them. So Philly needs to win. So I have Philly beating Vegas. Then you have the New York Jets at Jacksonville. Now this could be me thinking more with what I want to happen, but I just feel like Jacksonville is going to drop a game they shouldn't drop. They got the Jets this week. They have Denver next week. They have Indy the week after that, and then they finish out the season with Tennessee. I think that Jacksonville is going to lose one of these games they shouldn't lose. I think they're going to lose to Denver as well, but I also think they're going to lose a game they shouldn't lose. I have the Jets beating Jacksonville. Uh, Green Bay at Denver. I think Green Bay defeats Denver. Detroit at the Rams. I think Detroit will defeat the Rams. Tennessee at San Francisco. I think San Francisco beats Tennessee. Indy at Seattle. I think Seattle beats Indy. Carolina at New Orleans. I think Carolina beats New Orleans. Minnesota at Dallas. That's a Sunday night game. I think Dallas beats Minnesota. The Monday night game, Miami at Pittsburgh. And I didn't think I would pick this one like this. I have Miami pick. I have my Miami beating Pittsburgh and making that playoffs also in the AFC just a little bit more interesting. So just the recap, I have Chicago beating Cleveland, Cincy beating Baltimore, KC beating the Chargers, Buffalo beating New England, the Giants beating Washington, Philly beating Vegas, the Jets beating Jacksonville, Green Bay beating Denver, Detroit beating the Rams, the 49ers beating Tennessee, Seattle beating Indy, Carolina beating New Orleans, Dallas beating Minnesota, Miami beating Pittsburgh. That's what I have. Now, when you go over and look at the playoff standings, right now the number one seed in the AFC is Denver. The division leaders, you have New England as a 2 seed, you have Jacksonville as a 3 seed, you have Pittsburgh as the 4 seed. The three wild card teams, you have KC. I mean, you have the Chargers as the first wild card. You have Buffalo as the second wild card, and you have Houston. We are the last wild card. So if the playoffs would start the season in the day, the playoffs start today, we would go to Foxborough. Buffalo will go to Jacksonville. Chargers will go to Pitt, and Denver will have a bye. On the NFC side, you have the Rams with number 1 seed, Green Bay number 2 seed, Philly the number 3 seed, Carolina and Bryce Young because Tampa Bay lost on Thursday. Carolina is now the 4 seed. Carolina now is leading the division at the 4 seed. Uh, then the wild cards, you have Seattle as the 5th seed. Next is the 49ers. Last place in the wild card is Chicago. So again, the playoffs will end and start. The playoffs will start today. The regular season end day. The playoffs start today. Chicago will go to Green Bay. San Francisco will go to Philly. Seattle will go to Carolina. And the Rams have a bye week. Now, that scenario that I mentioned earlier about KC, KC will be officially eliminated from the playoffs if they lose, obviously. And if Houston wins, so we beat Arizona, which we're the favorite. If the Jags beat the Jets, which they're the favorite. And if Buffalo beats New England, Kansas City will be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs because they won't have any tiebreakers because they've lost to Buffalo, Jacksonville, and us. So even if they win out, there's nothing they can do. They will be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. There's nothing they can do. Everybody else can lose out. It don't matter. They can win out. Everybody can lose out. They will not make the playoffs. They will be mathematically eliminated. So they're not fully mathematically eliminated. Then as long as they win, they still can fight for another week. But it's very, very close. And if Jacksonville loses, to the Jets, the Texans win, the Texans will be leading the AFC South and then control their path to the AFC South, to their third straight division title. So, like I said earlier, you can't waste any of your good fortune, any of your good credit that you've accumulated for the last 5 weeks, specifically the last 3 weeks, by going out there and laying the egg against Arizona. You have to go out there and you have to handle business and you have to defeat the Arizona Cardinals. Like I was saying, Carolina and Bryce Young. Who saw this coming? Seriously, who saw this coming that that Carolina could forget get the division title, be in contention this late in the game, this late in the season for a playoff spot, let alone Carolina could be the 4 seed. We talk about somebody going to Carolina and Bryce Young hosting the playoff game. I actually hope that happens. I hope that happens. I like Tampa. I like Baker Mayfield. I like Kabuka. I like a lot of players over on the Tampa Bay side. I want this to happen for Bryce. I do. I want this to happen for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. I want them to, because I think this is the first time that they've are in the playoff picture. I think since 2017. This last time they made the playoffs was 2017. So we talking about almost 10 years since they've been in the playoffs. So what is 8 years? 8 years the last time they've been to the playoffs. I don't know if I can't remember if they won a division there, if there was a wild card team or not. So hopefully Carolina can hold true. I mean, they got New Orleans this week. I think they haven't played Tampa yet. I think they played Tampa twice in the last 3 weeks. I think it's one of the situations where they play in 1 week, play somebody else, and they play them again. I think. I could be wrong. They might play him last week. I don't know. I think. But I think that at the very least, I think at the very least they have one more game against Tampa. They might have both games against Tampa, but I think they at the very least have one more game against Tampa. Like I said, I want Carolina to go out there and get the division. I do. I do. I want Carolina and Bryce Young to go out there and get the division. I want that for them. I want that for them. I think that would be a good story on the NFL. And then, hey, if both Bryce and CJ both happen to get back and CJ get back and we win the division, and then you have both the number 1 and number 2 pick in the 2023 draft, both not only in the playoffs, both won divisions, both hosted playoff games, and CJ's already done it he's done it his entire career. That's another thing too, that we could be in a situation where our quarterback, because we always talk about how this franchise wastes players. We always talk about that. We always talk about wasting players. The only player that really truly got wasted was Andre. It's not JJ. It's not Hopkins. It's nobody else. Andre Johnson. It's the only one. Andre Johnson's the only one that was here for 12 years. Only went to the playoffs twice. So, like 10 of his 12 years with an organization, he didn't play the playoffs. 9 of his 12 years, he had a non-winning record. Because he only had a winning record 3 times. 2009, 2011, 2012. Now he did have 2 500 records. But that's the only person who actually really was wasted. JJ went to the playoffs his first year in the NFL in 2011, and he only had a losing season twice, 2013 and then 2020. Because even the season, the 2017 season, he was hurt that year. I mean, yeah, he was on a team that was hurt, but he was hurt after week 5. Now, And he was also for the bulk of the playoffs. He went to the playoffs 4 times, and also had several winning records as well. So remember, we went to the play. We missed the playoffs with a winning record as well. Same thing with Hopkins. Now Hopkins' first year, uh, he had a losing record, but same thing. Like Hop only had 2 losing seasons. His first year in 2013 and then 2017 because Hop wasn't on the team in 2020. But now we up here with Will and Sting and Daniil and CJ and Lassiter and Bullock and Petrie. Like, and we've been in the playoffs the last won the division title last 2 years. Potentially could win the division title this year. At the very least, we should make the playoffs this year. So we on doing things this like we're able to do things now that we haven't been able to do in our franchise history. We've been breaking molds and breaking standards and breaking bad traditions rather that have happened for the past 20 years of this franchise history. Just what it is. So I think that we have a lot of things to accomplish, a lot of goals to be able to get to. And we have the means to do it. We have the means, the players, the things to do it. But we can't squander opportunities like this week against Arizona. Like you gotta go out there, you gotta handle business. You gotta go out there, you gotta handle business. I don't even say about hook or by crook. You should go out there and handle your business against this team. You should. You should go out there and handle your business against this team. Because if you don't, we gonna be side. I don't know we're gonna be side. We just gonna be looking at you crazy. I don't even think we just gonna be side eyeing you. We're gonna be looking at you crazy up and down. Like, how did you squander that opportunity? And again, you could lose this game and still be in a good shape to make the playoffs. Still probably be the favorite to make the playoffs. But then we're not going to be as confident. Part of the reason why people are as confident because we look at the very least these next 2 games against Arizona against Vegas as those should be 2 wins. They get you 10 wins right there. You're right now at 8 wins. You handle your business, you're double-digit wins. That means DeMeco Ryans in 3 years has 30 wins. Right now, after starting off 0-3, DeMeco Ryans has a clear path to easily have his best record as a head coach. And actually, not only that, tie the franchise for the most wins. Most wins in franchise history is 12-4 back in 2013, 2014. I mean 2012. I'm sorry, we were 12-14, and DeMeco Ryan went on that team. DeMeco Ryan was on 2011, then got traded to Philly. So DeMeco Ryan's missed. His best record as a Texan was 10-6 as a player. In his first 2 years in the NFL as a coach for the Houston Texans, he's been 10-7. So he could easily get his 10 wins in the next 2 weeks. Boom, boom. And then you got the last 2 weeks against the Chargers, against Indy, that you should get at least one, if not both of those. And we're talking about 11, 12 wins. Now, we won 11 games with Deshaun Watson. And that's another thing, too. When we that year, we started off 0-3, won 9 straight games, and ended up with 11 wins. Another season, we can start off 0-3, and we've already won 5 straight. We went out. There's 4 games left. It's 4 games left. We won 5 straight. 4 games left. Y'all do the math. Because last time I checked, 4 plus 5 is 9. So that's 9 straight wins again. If they do that, and they'll have 12 wins. So obviously the key is if you start off 0-3, you gotta string together a long winning streak. You gotta get 8, 9 wins together to get out of that hole. Man, appreciate everybody that came through here. Everybody hit the like button. If you ain't hit the like button already, man, make sure you hit that like button. If you ain't hit the like button, I'm gonna give you some time. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm gonna give y'all some time. All right, all right. Hey man, make sure you're hitting that like button. If you ain't hit the like button already, man, make sure I'm gonna give you some more time. I'm gonna give you a little bit more time. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm gonna give you some more time. Hit the like button right now. Already, man. Appreciate everybody that came through. Everybody pull up. Definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate all the love, man. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you share. Uh, if you haven't already, I dropped the video talking about college football, talking about the playoff bracket, talking about what they can do to fix it. Because people been complaining about all the G5 schools and Alabama getting in, and Notre Dame not getting in and getting kicked, and then them not going to a bowl game, Miami getting in, all these different type of stuff. So if you're in the college football, I broke down how to fix the bracket because it's actually very simple. And I don't know why it's so hard to people. It's very simple. So I put in this, so make sure y'all go check out. I talked about how to fix the bracket, how to get the best teams in, and also, also did a prediction of who I think is going to win those games and who might end up being the national champion. So make sure if you ain't went checked out already, make sure you check that out. If you already checked out, go check it out again. Go check it out again. Make sure you hit the like on it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you comment on it. Tell me what you think. Tell me you liked who I picked, or you think my idea to fix it is genius because it is, or tell me that it's trash, don't make no sense, and you don't like it, which you probably won't because it really is genius. I mean, and actually, the thing is, it's not genius. It's actually common sense. I don't understand why don't nobody ever talk about it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Um, I am going to do a post game after the game. It won't be immediately after the game. It won't be immediately after the game. Reason why it won't be immediately after the game, I'm gonna be at the game. So I'm gonna have to wait till I get home. So make sure y'all pull up when I drop the post game. It's gonna be a post game. It's gonna be a little bit later. But make sure y'all pull up. We're gonna break it down of what we seen. Was it what we should have been seeing? Or are we side? So so make sure y'all pull up. Man, like, subscribe. If you haven't commented below, if you haven't clicked that bell, get more videos. I holla.